Good afternoon. How are you, Cece? So nice to meet you.
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, mujer, you've created. Okay, before we even start, please let the listeners know where can they go find you.
Yeah, so we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at Prados Beauty. And then we have our website, pradosbeauty.com. And then we are in 609 JCPenney locations across the U.S. So if you have a beauty counter inside your JCPenney, you can find Prados on the shelf within the 13-room cohort.
This is so exciting. You guys need to go and check out Prados Beauty. If you guys are watching us on YouTube or Spotify, you're going to find the handles on the screen. If you guys are just listening to us, go to the description box. I'll have a link to her website. This is such a unique brand. To start off, Prados, where does that come from?
Yeah, so Prados is actually my last name in Spanish. Meadows in Spanish is Prados. And my husband and I were brainstorming one day because I was, about to finish filling out my trademark and copyright application. I still didn't have a brand name. I was playing with a few brand names and I was just kind of like, these just don't feel, like these don't feel like something that, when you think about what I'm trying to create, it just didn't resonate. You just like when you know. And so my husband's in the military. He's an officer in the Army, and he was away at training. And I was like super overcome with like emotion and just very like frustrated at the whole process of trying to create like a brand name because you only get one shot. Like it has to be impactful. When you think about branding and you think about brand names and the things that are like happening, you think about that. And I just wanted something that was just very, very me, but also something that people could pronounce. And then when people looked at it on the shelf, they could say, oh yeah, that's Prados. Like just based on the colors and all of the, color story and branding that we use. So I was literally in tears, and my little girl, she was about, I want to say she was like 6 months. Yeah, she was about 6 months, and she was, she was 7 months, I'm sorry. And she was about to be 8 months, and she was crawling on the floor. And I just thought to myself, you know what, I'm actually creating these for my children. Like I'm creating this legacy for my children. And what better name than to, call it your name? Like, it's your legacy. It's what you're going to leave behind. And so I thought, I don't want to name my beauty company Meadows. And I was like, you know what, let's change it to, in Espanol is Prados. And I was like, and that's such a beautiful word. It's so, impactful. It just, the way it rolls off your tongue. And just when you think about the Prados in Mexico or even here in the US, like it's just a beautiful, word and vision. And so tying that all together, it just came easily to just be like, you know what, we're going to call it Prados Beauty.
And you conquered what you wanted to do, because as soon as I came across, so I found you on Instagram.
Okay.
And I found you on my Explorer page. And as soon as I saw it, it just captivated me. And I was like, what is this? And I clicked on it. And as soon as I clicked on it, I started reading your bio. And I was like, okay, now I'm intrigued. Like, this exists. There's more than MAC and Urban Decay and, all the big store name brands, Elf, whatever. I'm like, right. This is a brand that represents indigenous people, and it embraces the culture. And I'm like, this is so unique. Your palettes, your colors, like, me llamó toda la atención. And yeah. I was like, wow. But I was very curious. I'm like, Prados, I wonder where she got that from. And that just makes me appreciate the brand even more.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that, just growing up as like a Chicana and indigenous woman, I was just surrounded by, powerful language. My grandparents never spoke to us like we were, little kids. My grandma did do the little bouncy songs like, like, just like, when you're like bouncing your kids on your knee and just like, she would do like those types of things, but she never talked to us like we were small little children. She always spoke to us with words and just very like, can you hear that in the background?
No.
No? Okay. She just spoke to us with like just words, like very, she wanted us to be very soft spoken, but also very like impactful when we opened our mouth. And she always taught us like, you know what, you don't say anything until you have something powerful to say. And so to be a child who is, an Indigenous and Chicana person, I didn't speak English until I went to kindergarten. I learned English when I went to kindergarten. My grandmother only spoke to us in Spanish and like traditional Yoemi language. So I didn't speak English. I was in ESL until I was like in 3rd grade. And when I did learn English, my grandmother, my mom's mom, she was an educator, and she made sure that I did not have an accent. She did not want me to have an accent. She wanted me to be very, very vocal and present, to walk into a room and to be able to present, what would she say? I want you to be able to walk into a room and request and have presence by the way that you speak. And I think that for educators, that's important. And so being a Chicana and a Yoemi woman, like in this space has been so challenging because people they don't really understand where you're coming from. And so much tradition and so much culture is behind who we are as a people that I think they kind of tiptoe sometimes, not because they don't want to know about it. They just don't want to like disrespect or overstep, is what I've found.
Yes. Yo soy mexicana. Mis padres son de Mexico. I don't know if I have Indigenous roots. I have no idea. I wasn't raised knowing, right? And right. I always try to stay respectful of other people's cultures. But what I've learned is that it's so important for us to ask questions, for us right. to include and open that conversation, right? There's nothing wrong with somebody saying, hey, I don't know what that means. Like, what does it mean? Right. The more you know, the more you ask, the more knowledge you'll have. And right. I love that they taught you, like, to be mindful with your words, because words, a lot of people don't realize how powerful they can be.
Right.
Y ahorita that you were saying that, it reminded me of Maya Angelou.
Well, she's one of my favorite poets, and my grandmother introduced me to her when I was very young. I'm a poet. I love to write. I write in English and in Spanish. And I think that, as an Indigenous person and even as a Chicana person, like our stories and the things that our family have overcome and, whose family you belong to and who's your tío and who's your grandfather and who's your great grandfather, those are your lineages being passed down, through words. And so when you become someone who, is the speaker of your family, which I am because I'm the oldest in my family, you have to be, I would say you have to be more cognizant of the things that you say, because your words have the power to impact a lot of things, and not just for yourself, but for the people that depend on you, who you're speaking for. And, but not knowing if you have Indigenous roots and you're from Mexico, that is like the colonization of Spaniards, trying to erase you from your land. And that is something that we talk about a lot here, about recognizing where you come from and who your ancestors are, because you didn't just wake up one day and say, oh, I'm Mexicana. Like, you're rooted there. There's something that's rooted there. And so I think that as more people become exposed to who we are and that we're still here, they get to learn things. And that's what I wanted for Prados. I wanted it not just to be a place where, I sell things and I make money, but I wanted it to be a place that it was a brand with purpose, that people could come here and know where our money goes back to, who our money benefits, like what our give backs look like. I wanted it to be a place where people could learn about indigenous cultures, and not just my culture, but other Native American and indigenous cultures, but also learn about the impact of what it's like to be a Chicana in this country and what that looks like today.
And I love that, girl. And let me tell you, I don't know if you've ever heard this before. I don't know if I'm the only person that's thought about this. For many years now, I would say since I got married and had my son, which was like 16 years ago, I felt like this need of wanting to know who my family is. Mm-hmm. You know, my parents were immigrants here, and there was a point where I'm like, I want to know where my parents came from. Like, I want to go back to their city in Mexico, and I want to see, because they were neighbors. My grandmothers knew each other. Like, how much far can I track? And I went, and, you know, I had really good experiences and bad ones as well. But seeing your brand has inspired me to go back into researching my past.
Yeah. Right. I think, you know, there's this...
that little seed in me of like, I want to know.
I think that that's also like a humanistic want to know where you come from. You know, the human psyche is to want to belong, to be a part of community. Yes. You want to be loved, you want to be accepted, you want to be a part of community. And along with the human psyche, like, that is how, you know, indigenous people, that is how our creation story begins. It's about needing to be a part of something and being, you know, allied with each other. And so when you start to question, you know, there's a saying like, la sangre llama, your blood calls out to you. And that goes through DNA, and it goes through the lines, you know, and it doesn't ever end. And until you start searching and you start figuring out like where you come from and who your parents are and who your grandparents and who your great grandparents are, your spirit almost will not rest well until you know. And then once you do know, that confidence of who you are as a person, that just goes through the roof, because you understand what your people went through for you to be here today.
It's a whole new meaning to your life.
It is, and it's driven with purpose now, because you know, you know, and that's why I love history. I love to learn about different people and different cultures, and I love to learn about, you know, different pueblos and where you come from, you know, different parts of Mexico, not just, you know, where my family's from in Sonora. Like, I love to learn different parts of that, because it's a whole story of where you came from and really where you're going, essentially.
Yes, that is so true. La sangre si te llama. Y te digo, when I saw your brand, it planted that seed again of like, Maribel, you need to get yourself together. You need to go back and like keep digging, because I got up to my great grandparents. But I'm reading like historical, you know, documents of like, you know, when they were registered and stuff like that. But I'm like, God, I'm sure somebody in the family knows, like, you know, did we originate here? And the other day I was even asking my dad, I'm like, you know, very well-known cultures, which is the Mayan and the Aztecs. I'm like, do you know, like, do we belong to the Mayans, the Aztecs? Do we belong to another tribe? Like, I want to know. And for my parents, it's been kind of difficult. They're like, where did you come from? Like, nobody else in the family asked those questions. Why are you asking these questions, you know? And my mom even made the comment of like, what do you care? Like, you're already here. Like, they're already gone. Like, what do you care? And I'm like, Mom, it's very important for me. Maybe you don't have those questions, but for me, it's important to know. You know, I want to know what that generational trauma looks like. Like, I want to know the good and the bad, because it all comes together.
Right. I think so too. Like, when we talk about like the power of DNA and like what happens and what's passed down. You know, I come from my great grandmother was a curandera and a medicine woman, and so I think that having that background and knowing that my great grandmother, you know, was that it solidifies why I do the things that I do in my life. It's something that was passed down to me,
Yes.
And I think that wanting to know, and not really, your mom being like, why do you care, like, you're already here. It's like, you don't understand, like, there's a DNA, it's in your DNA, it's a calling to you to know where you come from. And so I know that as a businesswoman and as an entrepreneur, I know that the challenges that I have faced trying to build my brand, if I didn't know who I was or where I come from, I know that I would have a lot more challenges. But being steadfast and forever learning, forever learning and just being a student for the rest of your life, and passing down what you know, and then picking up things that people educate you or teach you on along the way. But if you want to find out more about your heritage and where you come from, when you're, looking for those things in Mexico, you actually have to go to like the actual libraries in the pueblos or historians in pueblos, because erasure is real, the genocide of indigenous people and things was real, like something that Spaniards, and even still to this day, like you go to Mexico and there are parts of Mexico where they are, they still don't acknowledge like the indigenous peoples that are still there to this day.
Yes.
And knowing that, I think it puts a bigger purpose on the brand and education and amplification, and that's really what I want to do. Just kind of break those stigmas that that indigenous people don't exist, and that the erasure away off of our lands and our traditional ways are not things. But I mean, a lot of people don't even understand, like they think quinceañeras are just like a big party, but that's actually an Azteca thing. Like it's an Azteca celebration. That's where it started, to have a quinceañera. The same thing, like when you eat traditional foods like nopales, or where you eat, squash and different types of animals and stuff like that. Those are rooted in indigeneity, and a lot of people don't know that. Just think that like, oh, they started making this like in the 1800s. It's like, no.
Yes. Oh my God, girl, can I interview you like for everybody? Because you're answering all the questions that I have, and I think ahorita what you're saying. I think por medio de tu brand, you're showing so much, and it's so significant what you're doing through this brand, because I feel like you're also, like you said, educating others, because there's many false narratives on indigenous people. I've heard comments of where it's like, well, no, todos son brujos, like, they're very... like witchcraft, like their rituals, their dances, like it's not appropriate, it's not this. But it's like, has anybody ever stopped and wondered what does it mean? Where does it come from?
Right. I think that's the the Spaniard quest to put Christianity on indigenous people. Because when you think about religion as a whole, and this could be like a whole different topic, but even in Catholicism, the Virgen de Guadalupe, it was something that Spaniards made because they saw the indigenous people that they worshipped women. We were matriarchs. We were the warriors in our families. We're the matriarchs. We're the life givers. We're the story keepers. We're medicine women. We were artisans. We were warriors. And so they saw the indigenous people revered women so much. Somewhere along the way, they didn't like that. And so they created this image that you could worship or that you could pray to, and that is what changed the role significantly. Now we're supposed to be at home, and we're supposed to be cooking and cleaning and only raising children, and our bodies are only for giving birth. Like those teachings are not indigenous ways. Those were things that were taken from us. But like I said, it's a whole other conversation. And you could like go down this path for hours and talk about like what the root is. But for me as a Yoemi woman who's, Yaqui, a lot of our traditions, a lot of the things that we do to this day are rooted in, like, it's not rooted, it was hidden behind Catholicism so that we could survive. So when you talk about like ceremonias and things that still happen, those things are hidden behind Catholicism, because it's like, do you survive as a people, or do you, you know, do the latter, which is to assimilate in a way and still, you know, be able to root in the things that are important to you, like danza and ceremonia and things like that. So you'd have to belong to that certain, you know, indigenous group to understand what that is. But a lot of indigenous people, when they practice like the things that are important to them and are passed down like from generation to generation, it's not brujeria. It's just something that how we believed. It's something that, you know, we worship the sun and women and, you know, the life givers, and we would walk around, you know, our breasts out. They were for feeding. It wasn't something that was sexualized. It was, you know, something that was, you know, rooted in respect and love for women. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about the times and how that changed and what, you know, colonization has done, you come down, you start to, you know, you come to today, which we survived genocide, you survive it, and you come to today and you think to yourself, how do I raise strong women who are rooted in culture but are still like advancing into the times today? And it's only through education. It's only through amplification of that you are beautiful. You know, my daughter has a beautiful round face. Her father's from Michoacan, and they're indigenous peoples, you know, that's how they look. And for the longest time, she did not like that. And I'm like, you're beautiful. You have the face of your ancestors. Walk in that power that you can still, you know, be who you are, and you are beautiful. And that is what the essence of Prados is.
Wow, that's powerful, Cece. That's so powerful. So does your daughter embrace it now?
Oh yeah, she's, you know, living her best girl life right now. She just turned 15, and she had her quinceañera, and she had like her little ceremony and her prayer, and she, you know, she walks in who she is now. But it was a journey to get her there. Yeah. And I feel like for a lot of, you know, Chicana women, like finding your place in what, you know, the definition of what Western beauty is right now, that's a journey. You know, if you're opening magazine covers and you're watching the TV and you're seeing all of, you know, people who are supposed to be like, you know, Mexicanas, or supposed to be, you know, people of color, but they're played by, you know, Caucasian women who have darker makeup on, you look at that and then you see them wipe it all off, and they're on the covers of magazines. They don't look anything like you. You think that you have to, you know, conform to that beauty standard, but you don't. You know, you have black hair, and you have, you know, carita clara. You've got the face of your ancestors, but you're absolutely gorgeous. Like, walk in that. So that has been a journey for her, and I think that we all go through that.
Oh, yes.
I went through that.
Yes, for sure.
You know, my
sure.
Clinique compact was 5 shades too light, you know, growing up in high school. So, you know, just embracing who you are is I think is a journey, and I want to help that. I want to create something that people can come to. And while I create products for everybody, it doesn't matter if you're black, blue, yellow, white, like, it does not matter. I create products for everybody, but when you come here, you're going to see like what beauty looks like through our eyes.
Oh, Cece. Oh my God, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. You're not lying. You're not lying. Growing up, you know, I grew up in the 90s. We had, you know, at that time, it was just pop. Mm-hmm. And even the ones that had, you know, Latino heritage, like Christina Aguilera, she wasn't Latina. Jennifer Lopez wasn't Latina. Like, they were marginalized to what you say, what beauty standards are today and in this world. It wasn't really like embrace yourself. And, you know, even I remember I had an uncle that had like a sarape, and I'm like, oh, please don't ever wear that when I'm like at school. Like, don't go pick me up in a sarape. Like, que vergüenza. Right?
Right.
Not knowing that oh my God, like that's part of my culture. That's part of, the colors, and why not embrace that? But like you said, I think we all go through a period where we're like growing and becoming our own. But it's so important to encourage our kids to embrace who they are. And for me, the only person that I could identify with, girl, was Selena Quintanilla. The only Selena that I know.
I think we all did for the longest time. But it's funny though, because like the movie Selena, when you think about the movie Selena, like it was played by a Puerto Rican woman. Like you can't you couldn't find a Mexicana or a girl from that was Mexican American to play Selena. And I get why they do it. You can read the stories about why the Quintanillas chose Jennifer Lopez, but it's like, when you think about the beauty standards that you place on people and that you have to look a certain way to play a certain person, then you take away the impact that you have as a person of color to play your own roles. And, I have a lot of friends who are actors and producers and directors and stuff like that now, and that's a whole other conversation too. But I think that I have so much hope for the future because we're having these conversations. And people aren't taking offense to them anymore. They're actually sitting down and saying, you know what? I never thought of it that way. And I think that when you do it in a gentle way and not as this overbearing, like you're going to accept what I say, but when you do it in a gentle way and it comes off as educational, you're going to change some minds and some minds you won't. But even if you get to have people just put their thinking cap on for a second, I feel like you've opened that door to community and that door to allyship. And I've been so grateful to be in this space and for people to want that. Like, they root me on more than they say, like, girl, bye. And when that happens, it's just like, for me, it's a good day.
Yes. And I think, your website, your products that you put out are a representation of that. I love your products, girl. Like, I'm waiting for Payday Friday, on Friday Payday, because I want to get so many things off of your website, and I feel like the colors that you use, I feel like they have intention. It's not just another color palette. It's not just another lipstick or another eyelash. Like, I feel like everything has a purpose, or at least that's how I see it when I went into your website.
Right. Yeah, and like I say, we make products for everybody, and my daughter's, the same shade you are, and if I don't create products for everyone and I only say, oh, this is just a BIPOC owned brand just for BIPOC people, I'm doing a disservice, not just to myself, but to that story of creating unity and creating community with everyone. When you want to create products, you have to have bomb formulations, things that are going to work for everybody's, different skin tones, everybody's different skin types, but at the same time, like, create something that's for everybody, not just an exclusive type brand that says like, oh, you can only wear this if you're brown. Like, you don't. Yes. One, you miss out on a different type of market, but two, when you think about brand stories and you think about the way consumerism is changing and the way people shop now, they don't just shop to support big businesses anymore. They want to support small businesses. They want to know where their money's going. They want to know what happens when you purchase a product. And they want to buy things that last and are good. Yes. And I think that that's just like culturally, like as a Chicana woman, like, my grandmother, I could say, no, we're not going to buy that. Eso es basura. Like, en 5 minutos se quebra or it doesn't work. And, yes. And it's like, why do you want to buy basura? Yes. Like, you want to buy things that are high quality, that are made with beautiful formulations, good ingredients, there's beautiful packaging. Like, no quieres ir al 99-cent store y comprar, like, lo de cualquier because that's what you can afford. You want to be able to walk into a store and, I'm a migrant child. My parents still work in ag. My parents didn't have money to blow away. So we went into the store and we bought something. You were going to buy something to make it last. The days of creating things and putting like a Chicana or Indigenous brand on it and your name behind it, and it just be like, what do they call it? A shafa? Like,
Yes,
just
Shafia.
like a whatever.
My
Like,
grandma would always be like, de la 99.
yeah, you know, like, and there's nothing wrong shopping there. Like, I like to go there and buy little things, but when you think about quality,
You don't, that's not the first thing you think of.
right? Why is there not a why was there never a brand before that I could create something and put intricate and beautiful packaging on it and sell it to somebody and know that I'm selling you something that is made with the utmost love and intention, but it's going to be something that you can share, something that you can, you know, show your daughter or your grandchildren or your girlfriend or your friend, and or, you know, just your cuñada, and just be like, look what I bought. Like,
Yes.
you know, beautiful packaging. And so I love packaging. I tell a story about my grandmother gifting us at Christmas time cereal boxes, like the conflace boxes filled with calcetines and calzones and like little bags of dulces and stuff like that. But my grandmother would dress up these bags. She'd wrap it in wrapping paper, and she would put, you know, ribbons and things that she used, things that she had around the house. And I think that's what made me like a big sucker for packaging at a very young age. So when I think about packaging and when I'm thinking about creating things, I want it to be an experience. I want it to be something that you open up and you think like, holy cow, this was made for me, and I don't ever want to throw it away. I wish for the life of me that I still had those boxes, because when I think about, you know, my memories as a young kid and the things that my grandmother did for me, I didn't understand the impact and the way that she was loving me until I got older. And I want a grandmother or a mother or an aunt to buy something from us and it be an experience to who they're giving it to, because it's not just the thing, it's love.
Yes. Oh my God. I wish my grandmother would have done that for me. She did not do that for me. She cooked really bomb food though, so I'll give her that. She showed me love with food. Pobrecita, my grandma was always in the kitchen. I always say, you know, even as a little girl, I thought she lived in the kitchen. I didn't know my grandmother had a room, because her house was really big, and, you know, we were always staying over and stuff, but she was always in the kitchen. Like, we would go to sleep, she was in the kitchen. We would wake up, she was in the kitchen.
Right.
So probably that's why, yeah, probably that's why maybe she didn't wrap us our gifts that way. But that is so special. And I feel like you are transmitting those feelings. Like, you're so intentional with everything that you've done. Y se nota, girl. Because I've known we all know a lot of beauty brands, but it's the same thing, right? Over and over. And sometimes you even see the same colors and you're like, okay, well, why should I support you when over here maybe I could get it for $5 when you're selling it for $30? Like, what's the difference? And it's that it's the quality, it's the intention, it's the love that goes into it. It's something that's going to last you forever. I love that you pointed out that, you know, our parents and our grandparents and probably great-great-grandparents didn't have that money just to freely spend, right? Everything was so intentional when they would buy it. And I remember my grandma didn't have much, but when it came to her cremitas, when it came to her little shampoos, that's where she would like splurge, girl. And I'm not saying she would spend thousands. No, it was like, voy a comprar esta cremita aunque cuesta $10 porque yo sé que esta es la mejor. And she would always go for like the most expensive, because that was like her self-care kind of, you know, in a sense.
No, my grandmother too. She had a beauty routine, and she had her makeup. She was the first person to ever give me makeup. In one of the cereal boxes when I was 9, she put like a red lipstick, and she taught me how to use the red lipstick as a lipstick, as a, you know, a blush and an eyeshadow, and even to color correct, because I've always had dark circles under my eyes, and she would tell me, like, you know, put a little bit of red under, and then, you know, when I got older, using foundation. And she was the first person to teach me about taking care of myself and loving myself. There was not a day that you could, have somebody in my grandmother's house and her hair was not combed and her makeup was not on.
Oh, girl,
and
no.
her, had her little dresses and her falditas, and like she always, and still to this day, she suffered a massive stroke a couple of years ago, and she's nonverbal, but she's still very much there. And so when you go visit her, she'll, show you her nails, that her nails need to be, repainted, and she loves her hair color. And so even when she's not speaking, like, she is still taking care of and loving herself. And we love to do that. We love to send her things in cute pajamas and cute clothes, so that she can still feel like she's herself. Like, so self-care is something that I think is passed down to us. When you think about, like, the murals of the Azteca women and how beautiful they are, and you think about, like, those images that have been passed down for centuries of what it looks like to embody, like, a strong woman. It doesn't matter if, you have a wide nose, or if you were dark, or if you were lighter. In history, what these images look like is a woman who is always empowered and taking care of herself.
Yes.
And your community taking care of yourself. And so to be taught that at a young age, and me to teach that to my daughters, it just comes full circle. It comes full circle.
Oh my God, I can imagine that. So it seems like your grandma is such a big part of your life, and a big part of the inspiration behind Prados Beauty. Have you been able to share with her, like, your success?
I have, and I take her things, from the collections that I make, and I show her, the packaging, and I take her, her lipsticks, and I take things that she can still wear, her blushes, and things that my tias use on her, the makeup brushes, and, explain to her that it's mine, and it's my, she knew before she got sick that this is what I was doing. But, one of the cool things about being in JCPenney is that I grew up in JCPenney.
Yes, didn't we all, girl?
Yeah, I grew up in JCPenney, and my abuela would walk in on, Sunday after church, and we'd go, get our ice cream and just go, window shopping and walk into the JCPenney, and she had her little coin purse. And I always thought to myself, this is the day that she's gonna, like, pull the trigger and buy one of those dresses. Like, and then, back then they're like $13, $14, $15. Like, yeah. Inflation wasn't crazy like it is now, but it was always like the little sundresses. She loved the sundresses with the flowers on them. And when I walk into a JCPenney store now and I go greet the associates, I always still go to the dresses, and I think to myself, if my grandmother was well, like, I would buy her all the damn dresses in the store that she wanted, because what she did for me and what she taught me was that there was no dream too big that I couldn't dream for myself. And that everything that my ancestors and all the things that she went through, and the things that my grandfather went through, and even my own father went through to give me the opportunity to do what I do now, there was no reason why I couldn't do that. There was just that impactful, presence of knowing that the world was at my fingertips. Like, I just had to go out and fucking get it. Like,
yes.
Excuse my French. I just had to go out there and get it. I just needed to visualize, to manifest it, to pray for it, and then to go work, because nothing is handed to you.
Oh, no.
Nothing is handed to you. You have to put, your actions into your intentions. And that was something that she taught me at a very young age, and I will always, always, always credit her for that.
Wow, girl, that's power. Like, I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps, because that is so powerful, and I think that only comes to prove what you said earlier. if you didn't know where you come from and who you were,
right,
maybe Prados wouldn't be where it's at today.
it couldn't have been, because the brand is rooted in culture. It's rooted in telling our stories. It's rooted in community. It's rooted in giving back. It's rooted in doing the traditional Indigenous ways, which is to uplift one another. It's in this. It couldn't have existed.
Yes.
It wouldn't have existed. And so I think that as we explore who we are as people and who we grow into and who we change along the way, because you're not going to be the same person you are when you were 15 years old. Like,
let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Like, you're not squeaking with like your ears, you're still wet behind the ears, and you think that, you eres creída at sometimes in points in your life that like there's nothing that people can teach you. But that moment that you grasp the fact that there is so much for you to learn and be taught, it changes your whole perspective on who you can become as a person in the future. And for me, I just was in tune with the fact that my grandparents had a lot to teach me, and that I needed to. And still, I tell people, like, I regret not listening to more things that they tried to teach me, like dry farming. And my grandmother taught me how to sew dresses when I was little. I can't sew to save my life. Like, I just did not put the importance on the things that they were trying to teach me. And when I did start to grasp that, I was already older, and they were older too. So I always tell people, like, if you have grandparents and they have something to teach you or something to say, spend time with them. Because those are the stories that you carry on forever, and their wisdom is so like unmatched. There's nothing that I've been taught from my grandparents that hasn't suited me in this life that I live right now.
Wow. And that is so true. I never got to meet my dad's parents because they passed away when I was a little girl. But I got to meet my grandparents from my mom's side. And I will forever cherish, and I wish we would have like TikTok and all that back then, where we could have maybe shared more videos about them and have more things that, will never be erased.
Right.
Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, pero en mi corazón y en mi mente, I always have them. And sometimes I even like cry just missing those conversations with them.
Right.
Because you're like, God, like if I could just go back for just 1 second.
Right.
And ask more questions.
Yeah, my grandmother's nonverbal, and so there's some days that are really hard, and it's like, man, I would give anything to be able to pick up the phone and be able to ask my grandmother to pray for me. Like there is, there are some days where I just feel like she's still here, but there's just that sense of loss, like that I still need you. Like I still need you in this time. So, I think by being the legacy that she's going to leave behind and really carrying that forward, and putting that into this brand, and then I talk about community over competition a lot. And that was something that my grandmother taught to me, that the bartering system, the barter system, especially in the summers, like we would go spend the summers in Mexico, and sometimes my tias didn't have, money. It's like, okay, I'll give you, 3 squash for, a watermelon, or, I have finely milled, like, maíz, and I'll trade you this for, the tomates and the jalapenos, and just different things like the bartering system. But I think that being taught that at such a young age, and knowing that we needed each other, and that there are times where you go through hard times, and it's hard right now for a lot of small businesses. The recession is like, they don't want to call it a recession, but it's a recession. Like it has impacted a lot of small businesses. And so when I talk about community over competition, it's really about sharing your platform and amplifying other businesses, when really, the ability to just amplify yourself is so easy. But what's the love in that? What is the purpose in that? And for me to be able to do that, it's easy. It's easy to post on your Instagram or your TikTok to talk about another business. Nothing happens to your bag or your purpose or your brand story when you amplify another person. And so being able to do that, I think that as a brand itself and just as a person, you create an example for others, and you build the ladder,
yes,
for the next generation after you. But when you get there, you leave the ladder down, and that is not the way, you know, that happens here in the US. Like, for a lot of conglomerates, they don't leave the ladder down. It's like, oh, we made it, like, good luck.
Yes. And that's why Embracing My Markings, this podcast, is all about that. I want to highlight those stories. I want to highlight those small businesses. I want to highlight the people that have the same beliefs I have. I will never post an episode, or I would never post a brand that I don't stand behind. You know, I've even had brands offer me, like, well, we'll get you, you know, like an ambassador code, or we'll give you an affiliate link, or we'll give you this, you know, to promote. And I'm like, I have to connect with the brand. Like, it's so easy to get that money and run with it, but then it goes against everything that I stand for.
Which just speaks to your integrity as a person. And I think that integritous people are hard to come by these days, because social media is so huge, and you know, you'll even have influencers who will, you know, sell you a plucked duck and say that it's the best one that they've ever seen or ever had. You know, so, you know, it's ridiculous. But I think that you know, when you create the you know, the example, and you create the space, and you create the place that people can be authentically themselves and be honest, I think that is more impactful, and people trust you. They know you as a brand that's honest, and they know you as a brand who has an utmost integrity, or even, you know, the business that you do. And I think that for me, that was something that I always wanted, and I don't trade that for anything. It doesn't matter what it is, you know. So
because I rather, girl, work you know, on the side. Obviously I have a job on the side. I rather work and get my money that way than knowing that I'm deceiving the public. Like, I wouldn't be able to sleep comfortably at night knowing, like, you know, I'm getting that check on the side because I'm saying this brand is amazing and it's crap. Like, I just can't. And that's why it's so important for me to interview people like yourself and really get to know you. And I don't know why, I'm like, maybe it's my ancestors leading me, girl, but I have met some amazing people along the way, and brands that really need that highlighting, that our community can really stand behind. We work so hard for our money that you shouldn't be spending it on people and brands that nada que ver. They don't give back to the community. They don't even like us.
They don't even like you. That's right. We've been saying that a lot. They don't even like you. Like, you know, they have you can't sit with us sign, like, permanently. Like, you know, but they love your food. They love your celebrations. They love your holidays. They just don't like you as a people. And it's just like, that's a whole other conversation. But, but, you know, it's that, you know, it makes you appreciate the people who ally and root you on and who support you more, because you know that they're there because they want to be. And not that, you know, that chip on their shoulder. They're like, oh, I'm doing you a favor by purchasing from your brand. It's like, no, that's never that. Like, you know.
No, not at all. And something that I say and that I also live by, I don't believe in asking for discount codes. I don't believe in, like, hey, Cece, now we're friends, can you send me something? No. Friends, true friends support. If
That's
you
right.
support somebody, you support them fully. If you can't support them with your money, it's okay. You can still support them by posting them, by sharing about them, by talking about them, by, saving up your coins and maybe splurging, you know what I mean? Because I've known brands that sell, artisans, artesanía mexicana, that is beautiful pieces, girl, that I know that take months to make a piece.
Right.
And sometimes they're pricey, but it's because they're paying the artisans a fair price. They're paying them more than what they're asking for, because that's what they should be getting paid, right? So I can't afford their things. And I'm not embarrassed to say that. I'll say it. I can't afford it. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to go and criticize what they're doing or go and build them. No, I still share them. I'm like, hey, I'm poor, but maybe you're not. Look at this fabulous piece, and it took 6 months, 9 months to make, because they're handmade and stuff. And so I feel with what you said of, we're not each other's competitions is so important.
Right.
And we need to have that conversation. When you go to the bread aisle, how many types of bread is there?
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's one of the greatest things that I've heard in my, career as an entrepreneur is that my prices are too high. It's just you can't afford it. And it's okay that you can't afford it because you don't know the story behind what you're paying for, and it's like you don't know you're actually paying my employees who are, trying to make it in their own world, or they're trying to take care of their families, or that you're helping us pay to give back to our community, or that a portion of everything that you buy goes back to communities. And that's okay. Sometimes there are people who will tell us your product is out of my price point, but I love it so much and I'm going to share it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know what? Thank you so much for your honesty. And sometimes we have sales, and subscribe to our email anyway, because, during the holidays, we do a big sale at the end of the year. Maybe you can afford something, maybe this is a splurge for you. Maybe this is something that, is a high quality product for you that you're just going to love and it's going to last you forever. We get those conversations for people. So I'm very conscious of how we price things out and the things that we make. But, just like any other business, we have to survive. And so I think that market.
Can I pause you real quick? I actually want to tell the audience, her prices are actually not high. Her prices are actually not high. A palette is $18. A lip gloss is $18. I mean, it's less than $20. Now $20 to me is like $5. It's nothing nowadays, right?
$20 is like a half your order at McDonald's now. Yeah. It's like if you just don't eat one time, you could buy Prados.
Yes. So I just wanted to share that because I don't want to scare people. No, please go and check out her website, pradosbeauty.com. Her prices are not high. It might be for some people.
That range from $3 to $225 on our website, So I try to create things that are affordable for people, and it's so cute. You can tell when they're little teenagers in high school by the things that they buy. It's usually a sticker and an eyeliner, or they're very conscious of how they spend their money, but then you'll see their repurchase 2 or 3 months later because their product just ran out. It's usually the eyeliner. But even the lipsticks, the aunties and the tias, they love our lipsticks. They last for a long time. They're good for their skin.
The colors are beautiful.
Thank
beautiful
you.
Colors.
So it's just, it's being able to find that happy medium where you're being price conscious for your consumer, but then you're also making it as a business.
Yes. Something that I love to share with the listeners is that they have no idea what it takes. You're talking about employees, girl, but let's be serious. Your lab fees, your import fees, your whatever, taxes, tax season, having a website, maintaining that website.
Right.
Girl, people don't think about these things. And it's you want something cheap? Well, then go to where
Right.
it's cheap, because there is brands out there that sell you pellets for, $5. But guess
Right.
what? You will never use it because it's useless. Like, there's no
Yeah.
pigment, there's no nothing,
Right.
and what a lot of people fail to realize sometimes is that these small businesses like yours tienen tanto corazón, and there's so much meaning behind it, and that's why it's so important to have you guys on my podcast to share that with the people. Because
you.
I always wonder, do people walk into, like, I don't know, what's a fancy brand? I've never even walked into one of these stores, but like a Neiman Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
And do you start complaining about the prices of, like, Chanel? Do we
No,
even know?
because they're there to buy it. They're there to buy it because they know that that's what it costs. But really, what you're doing is you're paying for a name, is what it is.
Exactly. Because Coco Chanel does not know who the hell you are. And do you even know who the hell she was?
I know, and it's so funny because some of our customers will, they'll come to our page from TikTok or Instagram. They'll follow us. They'll interact with us for months and even years. I started my brand in 2019, and they've been here since 2019. They're the first to buy. They're the first to support, but you start to learn about them when their birthdays are, and when when they get married, or when they have families, when their husbands deploy, when their husbands, are graduating from school, or when they buy their first homes. Like, you see these things, you follow them, you see what's going on with their lives. And my two girls, my employees here, they interact so much on our Instagrams, and I try to as much as I can. But like, they know people when they see orders, they know them by name, and it's just like, you don't get that. You're not gonna. The big conglomerates don't know who's buying their stuff. They just know the demographic, but they don't know
Not
them by
even
name.
Jeff Bezos that has us on subscriptions. He doesn't even know who the hell we are. Okay. And that's so sweet, and you see now even big companies are noticing that people are being very careful with their money. I know I kind of don't want to name any more names because I don't want to give them more promotion, but I know, like, even like where I get stuff for my dog.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big company. It comes in a blue box, cardboard blue
Right.
box. We all know what it is. And, they try to send you, like, for when your dog is having a birthday, or they'll try to connect with you. But it's not the person that created the brand that's doing that.
No, it's their employee and the automated system.
Exactly. And this, you're getting, like, I love buying from small businesses and supporting you guys, because every time I receive a package, usually it's a handwritten little note, or there's like a little sticker that comes with it, and it makes me feel appreciated. I don't know, like, it's so small and insignificant maybe to some, but to me it means the world. I'm like, oh my god, it feels like a gift.
My girls, I love to package orders. Sometimes I'm here really late at night packaging orders, just because it brings me a lot of peace, and I used to do it all on my own, but the girls are so intentional with how they package things, and they'll fold tissue paper and put stickers on it. And it's because I taught them that. I want them to know how to package an order as if I would have done it, because it's an experience.
Yes.
It's not just something that you ordered and you spent your money on. Like, it's an experience. So,
yes. Oh my God, I love that. Girl. Oh, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with Prados Beauty. You guys need to go and check them out. Like I said, less than $20. She does have higher prices. If you can afford them, great. And if you don't have right now, because I know many of us are going through the recession, we're going through issues, nada te quita to share with your friends, hey, I just heard about this brand. Like, it's so unique, and the colors are beautiful, and it's good quality. Like, check it out. Share it on your social media. I always tell people,
like, sharing is almost as if you purchase, because it puts you in front of other people that normally wouldn't see your brand. We don't have huge $1 million PR and marketing budgets like a lot of these big conglomerates have. Like, we don't have those budgets actually. Like we hope and pray that like a TikTok video goes viral like every so often, you know, or that our community just keeps sharing, you know, and that we do good work that people recognize and that they, you know, they want to support the brand. But I think for us, it's really just, you know, being old school, like word of mouth. And so people don't understand that if you can't buy right now, that's okay. You're not going to make me mad. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. I know what it's like. I was homeless and a single mom. Like, you know, I get it. Like, I understand. And I think that once you can, you know, break through that expectancy that people think that you have of them because they follow your Instagram or they share or they like your things, like, no. You know, las cosas pasan and you can't help that. But I would rather you feed your family than you go, you know, splurge or spend money on something that
that maybe you don't need
like,
right
yeah,
now.
it'll last a long time, but go eat, like feed your family.
Yes. But that doesn't mean that you can't support for free. And the free stuff is sharing.
Right.
I know I have like 3 Instagrams. So I have one for the show, I have one for my social media, and then I have like a personal one. And in my personal one, girl, thank God it's family and like really close friends. Otherwise they would be unfriending me because I'm always like sharing stuff with them, you know, like, oh my God, you guys check out this page, and you know, and I tag them and stuff. And even some of my friends are like, oh my God, Maribel, you need to stop because my budget is just not like, you're hurting my budget. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Right. But again, please go and support. I love your brand, girl. I wish you nothing but success in everything that you do. I hope one day you're even in more stores.
Thank you. That's the goal.
Yes. And I can't wait. I'm for sure a fan, and I'm going to be rooting you forever.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes. So once again, you guys, pradosbeauty.com and Prados Beauty on Instagram and TikTok. Please go and connect. Thank you so much for your time, Cece.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. And you guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.